INDECOM is probing yet another fatal shooting by the police after a man was killed during an alleged confrontation in Hungrytown, St. Andrew. This marks some 230 people being killed by the police in Jamaica. Blessings ABR family and viewers, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Isabel Rose, and in this one, the Jamaica Constabulary Force sends a message aimed at the Assistant Commissioner of the INDECOM and not basically addressing the latest shootings of fatalities from the police. We are at a count currently of 230 fatalities from the law enforcement. Please stay tuned for the details at hand. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Now, the Independent Commission of Investigation, that's the INDECOM, is probing yet another fatal shooting by the police after a man was killed during an alleged confrontation in Hungrytown, St. Andrew. This marks some 230 people being killed by the police in Jamaica to this date. Jamaicans for Justice have been crying about the increased fatalities of our youths as it relates to the police force and basically staged a protest for accountability, asking that the police, lawmen and women, wear body cameras. But they were meted with a counter-protest basically organized and called for by the sitting government.
Given the scourge of criminality, and in particular violent crime, with which Jamaica has had to grapple over many years, there can be no denying that our police men and women work under very tough and trying circumstances. The efforts and energies of all well-thinking and law-abiding Jamaicans should be focused on supporting and encouraging our hard-working policemen and women, not tearing them down. It is quite heartening and should not be overlooked that a culture of accountability is increasingly being fostered by the JCF, and professionalism is being prioritized through ongoing human rights training and sensitization. When one considers the advent of INDECOM, IPROB, the Police Civilian Oversight Authority, as well as other internal administrative protocols, there are greater mechanisms to hold the police to account and safeguard the public against police excesses today than there has been at any time previously in the history of this country. While the JCF and its members are not above criticism, at a time when Jamaica is registering historic and welcomed reductions in murders and other major crimes, the interest of the country will be better served by constructively criticizing the police instead of tearing them down. I am urging well-thinking and law-abiding Jamaicans to rally behind the police and motivate them by wearing blue on Tuesday, April 29. At the same time, I'm imploring the public to shun actions and utterances that may serve to demoralize and demotivate our policemen and women. A demoralized and demotivated JCF can only serve to advance the interests of the menacing criminals in our society, and not the vast majority of us who want to see the police winning the fight against the criminals and sustaining the prevailing reduction in murders in our beloved country.
Now we've seen the People's Defender, Reed Cameron, joining the cause as JFJ, demanding that the body cam be mandatory in all high-level operations carried out by the police force after a fatal shooting of a 22-year-old Jamar Farquharson of Cherry Tree Lane.
The questions that citizens must join the family in asking: What were the specific circumstances that led to the use of lethal force against Jamar, especially given his apparent surrender? This incident for us is reminiscent of the 2024 shooting of Romario Sterling in Bog Walk, St. Catherine. If you recall, in that incident, there was a man who appeared to be kneeling down, and then what sounded like a gunshot was heard, and the imagery was captured on CCTV camera, and the footage provided by the family. So it is eerily similar. And I think there are many questions that require urgent answers. The questions that citizens must join the family in asking: what were the specific circumstances that led to the use of lethal force against Jamar, especially given his apparent surrender? If the media reports are true that the surveillance cameras were in fact disconnected, why was this done, and what steps were taken to preserve other evidence that could clarify the series of events?
It's alleged that the warrant had no name on it. The warrant basically stated Cherry Tree Lane. And in this incident, everyone seems to be silent. From Andrew O, let's go right down to the Commissioner of Police, to the Minister of National Security, Horace Chang. But when a call was made by JFJ in recent months, the same Commissioner of Police, Commissioner Blake, issued a video statement, and here's what he said.
I've taken note of the Jamaican for Justice's condemnation of what they described as intolerable number of fatal shootings by the security forces. I strongly support the view that the number of fatal shootings is too high. However, the call is wrongly directed and should be aiming at those who make the decision to challenge a far more superior force. And so let me encourage the Jamaican for Justice to be more responsible in their public pronouncements, especially when the nation is aware of its members' proven ability to comprehend the most basic and fundamental principles of security. To suggest that fatal shooting numbers can be reduced by anything other than the unwillingness of persons being apprehended to engage in deadly confrontation with members of the security forces is irresponsible, or at best, advocating for us to relent in our pursuit. We again reiterate the point that those who seek to kill and maim will not be left free and unobstructed to hold communities at ransom and in constant fear. It means we make no apology to stand between these murdering thugs and the people of this country. We also wish to reiterate the idiocy of these criminal elements in seeking to engage the security forces with deadly force and expect not to be responded to with similar force. Ladies and gentlemen, our prisons and police lockups are fully populated with persons who have made the smarter choice of surrendering peacefully to the police. We have had well over 1,000 firearm-related arrests each year. Persons have had their day in court and have, in some instances, been freed of the charges against them. They have all lived to see another day, simply because they choose not to direct deadly force against our members. We have had police officers and soldiers killed and seriously injured in some of these confrontations. It is mandated by policy that every incident of fatal shooting must be followed by a removal from frontline duty and an administrative review. This takes police that would normally be out to protect you, the citizens, off the street. And so, yes, we agree. We need to have less fatal shootings. And so I call upon JFJ to demonstrate to the public that your care is more for the well-being of our citizens and less for the relevance of your organization. And it is hard for me to think otherwise when I know JFJ is fully abreast of the facts. Finally, as I wrap up, this constant call for there to be more accountability over the JCF is in itself a slap in the face of INDECOM. Be reminded that that is their single most important mandate. And let me be absolutely clear, lest I am misunderstood or misquoted. I am a full supporter of what INDECOM stands for. An effective INDECOM assures me that those among us who believe that they are free to break the law will be held to account and be removed from within our ranks. The JCF's effectiveness depends on this. However, I'm concerned that the JFJ supports the idea that INDECOM's investigation is being hampered because we do not have body-worn camera footage to present to them, even while they have more than 60% of what is required to complete an investigation. And this includes statements from our members who are involved, ballistic information, report on the circumstances surrounding the case, and primacy over the scene. We in the JCF do not have the luxury of taking that position. So let me take this opportunity to reiterate the point that we have been making for some time. We will continue to use our superior intelligence gathering capabilities. We will continue to utilize our superior investigative capacity. We will use our superior operational capabilities, and we will go out and confront those who seek to destabilize our communities by wielding the threat of violence and terror. It continues to be our intention to bring those marauding criminals to justice so that they can have their day in court. Our track record of bringing violent criminals before a judge is beyond question. However, let me say again, when the police come for you, do not raise your weapons against us. Lay down your weapons and have your day in court. But should you choose the foolish option of challenging us with lethal force, know this: I do not train my police to lose. We have the superior training and firepower to ensure that we win every time. Let me encourage every Jamaican who truly believes in justice to work alongside the Jamaica Constabulary Force to continue our mission to bring down violent crime even further this year. And let's create a society where we can all feel safe.
So because they cannot spin this one, they're basically saying now that police body cams to be delivered soon. They're basically saying that 1,000 more new body camera procurement process is now completed. But then he proceeded to basically take jobs at the INDECOM assistant commissioner, who basically let us know that there were 23 officers and that the warrant had no name on it, only the name of the street, Cherry Tree Lane. And so here's the statement put out by the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The Jamaica Constabulary Force has noted with concern the recent public comments made by Assistant Commissioner of INDECOM, Hamish Campbell, suggesting that it is perfectly legitimate approach for the Commissioner of Police and senior leadership of the JCF to speak publicly on fatal shootings under investigation in order to reassure communities. This position is at best disingenuous given the repeated public and private concerns raised by INDECOM in the past whenever the JCF has issued statements or offered commentary on such matters. Indeed, INDECOM has previously published guidance which states INDECOM is always careful and sensitive when issuing commentary on any INDECOM investigation, as premature dissemination of information can have an adverse impact. The Commission urges law enforcement bodies to be mindful of this reality or contact INDECOM prior to the issuance of statements on INDECOM investigations. It is therefore surprising to hear this apparent about turn. The JCF, like the wider public, is a client of INDECOM. We rely on the Commission to carry out independent and impartial investigations that establish facts. Definitively, in recognition of this, the JCF has taken what we believe to be a principled position that public pronouncements on matters under active investigation may influence or be perceived to influence the collection of statements and evidence. Our overriding concern is to preserve the integrity of investigations, protect the credibility of outcomes, and maintain public confidence in both our institutions. The JCF continues to support and cooperate fully with this INDECOM investigation as it has done with every investigation before it. Our support for the work of INDECOM in holding police officers accountable is beyond question. We recognize the Commission's role as a critical pillar of transparency and oversight, and we respect its independence in carrying out that mandate. It is also important to note that the overwhelming majority of INDECOM probes have resulted in the exoneration of the members under investigation. underscoring both the professionalism of our officers and the importance of the investigative process in affirming public trust. On body-worn cameras, the High Command of the JCF has on repeated occasions stated, restated, and clarified its position on the procurement and deployment of body-worn cameras. There should be no question in anyone's mind about whether the JCF is in support of their use. The government of Jamaica has invested billions of tax dollars to create the ecosystem necessary to make their deployment widespread, and the JCF has embraced their role in accountability and modern policing. The High Command can now report that the recent process of procuring 1,000 new body-worn cameras is now complete, and the contracts are with the provider ahead of delivery in the coming weeks. This is the largest single procurement of body-worn cameras in the JCF's history. It is important to note that the JCF is incapable of manipulating the procurement process or spending beyond the resources allocated to us in the annual national budget. We have no independent authority to purchase outside of that framework. Furthermore, we maintain that operational decisions regarding the deployment and utilization of body-worn cameras remain squarely within the purview of the JCF as the law enforcement body and not INDECOM. On fatal police encounters, the JCF views every single police encounter that results in a fatality as deeply unfortunate. In the case of the fatal shooting of 22-year-old Jamar Farquharson in Cherry Tree Lane, Clarendon on September 15, the situation is most regrettable. However, the facts of what took place on that day are to be conclusively determined by the independent investigation. The JCF extends our sincere condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Farquharson. And I must say that all of this that has been put out by the JCF is not enough. This is not enough. And we're seeing the video footages and we know that they cannot spin this one. And so I say we're calling on Andrew Holness, we're calling on this commissioner, we're calling on the Minister of National Security. All of them must be fired. We heard of their utterances that the people must meet their maker or meet their judge. We heard them saying that the police must shoot and ask questions after. This is not the way to treat our citizens of our country, and I'm calling for all of them to be fired. The silence is deafening, and we need justice for Jamar Farquharson. What says you, ABR family and viewers? Go ahead, drop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel on the road to 50K. Help me to get there. Get this video to at least 10,000 likes. Stay tuned for more videos. Stay tuned for more updates. Big up on yourself.